From the 5 Points Crossing series by Nancy Sidmore, I Come from Outer Space. Production by Lynn and Dave. Sci-fi short stories. Come along a crazy journey as all these different folks travel through fantasy life and may eventually meet at 5 Points Crossing. Preface. Imagine for a moment that you were dropped off onto Earth and you knew nothing about Earth, but you were on a mission to find out what human beings are all about. Imagine for a moment that you really know nothing about people on Earth, or things, or technology developed by humans, but you are starting off with a blank slate. Let's say aliens from outer space sent you here and gave you just enough information to get you started. Pretty much any of the information you really need, nothing more, nothing less. They taught you or programmed you to be courteous and kind and to be very patient. Let's say you got dropped off in northern Wisconsin and you found out that you were not just tasked to find out more about human beings, but all living creatures on Earth. You're also tasked to find out what natural resources could be exploited by aliens from outer space. You find out that you are not alone. You are just one of many, many humans created by aliens and dropped on the planet Earth. People seem to be completely unaware of your presence. This story is about that person and his adventures and what he learned about the human race. Act 1. One day, I found myself sitting at the library when a young lady came up to me and asked me, "Where are you from?" "Well, basically I come from outer space," I replied. She got angry and said, "No, where you from?" With her stern, peering eyes bearing down on me and grimacing frown, I told her, "The aliens created me, so essentially I'm from outer space." Not satisfied, she asked me how the aliens created me. "Okay," I said, "it's quite simple, really. Basically, they use a bread-making machine, one that is quite large. It is just like making bread. They set the timer and other settings like, do you want white bread or dark bread or banana bread? Of course, you have to put in the ingredients, and yeah, they had collected the DNA samples from other people that they had captured and abducted. They created me to investigate the human race." She told me I looked silly with my tinfoil hat and asked why was I wearing it. I laughed and asked her, "Why do you not have a tinfoil hat? Don't you understand that they can read your mind without one?" She smiled down at me and asked, "Where you live?" "Nowhere really," I said. "Sometimes they come to get me and hook me up to machines. It's very relaxing. I usually go into a deep sleep." Suddenly, a large elderly lady quietly appeared and said, "Listen, I'm the librarian and you are both making way too much noise. This is a library. You must keep your voices low. What's going on? Is this man here bothering you?" The young lady said, "He claims he's from outer space. He's wearing a tinfoil hat. I think he got loose from the loony bin." The librarian asked once again, "Is this man here bothering you?" The young lady replied, "Not really. I just don't like people lying to me, making up stories. I think he's a creep, and he smells kind of like banana bread." The librarian sternly scolded, "No food in the library. We can't have you disrupting the public with your craziness. If you cannot be quiet and behave yourself, I'll have to ask you to leave." I looked at the librarian and I said, "I can assure you, madam, that I will be very quiet as a mouse. I'm sorry to have bothered anyone." A police officer soon arrived and asked the librarian, "What's going on here? Is there a disturbance? I got a report of a suspicious individual with a tinfoil hat." He turned his gaze to me and said, "Say, that wouldn't be you, would it?" He pulled out his police club and hit his palm with it several times and then put it away and replied to himself, "No, I think we all know why I'm here, don't we?" The young lady tried to make a break for it to the door. The police stopped her and said, "In this town, we don't tolerate late library books. I'm sorry, you'll have to come with me." The librarian replied to the officer, "We just have a guest from outer space visiting our library." Suddenly, a large man in a waterproof uniform walked up with a loud walkie-talkie. The large man screamed into the walkie-talkie and said, "Listen, we are the fire department, not a plumber. I can't believe you called me for a full overflowing toilet. You say it's in the men's room? Oh my God, I'll have it unplugged in no time." The large man turned to the policeman and the librarian. "We're investigating the report of a small fire or flood or maybe a medical emergency. We don't know. Our radios are down, but we're told it's here." A very dignified man walked up and said, "Is there a problem here, ladies and gentlemen? I'm the mayor." The librarian said, "Mr. Mayor, let me introduce you to our guest we have here, who claims he's from outer space." The young lady piped up, "Don't forget to ask him about how he was created by aliens from outer space, using a very large bread-making machine. He claims he doesn't have any place to live." The large fireman used a loud, booming voice and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, patriots, patrons of the library, please slowly and carefully and safely exit the library. We have a slight emergency. I need everybody to evacuate." After a lot of pushing and shoving, I was ushered out of the library. I intended to find a nice park bench to sit and reassess the situation. Just as I was getting near the road, a black car pulled up and someone signaled for me to get in. The driver wore camouflage hunting overalls and a hunter's hat with dark sunglasses, and he yelled, "Get in." He was very insistent that I got in very quickly, but was careful to be sure my seat belts clicked. He mashed the gas pedal to the floor, and we were on our way, over 100 miles an hour, out of town. The man with sunglasses driving the car looked at me sternly and said, "I hear you know something about UFOs and aliens from outer space. I'm looking for my wife. She's been abducted, and you're going to tell me where she is, or me and you are going to have to go at it." I said, "Sir, that should be no problem. I believe that you will see your wife soon." His car stalled on the road. A spacecraft hovered and sucked him out of the car. Act 2. Next, I found myself sitting in a stalled-out car on a desolate highway, not knowing where I was or where I was going. But the driver was gone, so naturally I started walking. I picked a random direction and walked along the highway. It was quite peaceful until the police officer in his squad car approached with his lights flashing. The police officer was the same police officer that was at the library and looked like he was very concerned. He said, "Sir, may I ask you a few questions? Do you know who belongs to that car that is stalled out on the highway?" I said, "No, officer, I don't know anything about that person. He was giving me a ride and he got sucked out of the car by a spacecraft." The officer replied, "Well, everybody in town knows him. It's Billy Bob, and you can tell Billy Bob if he wants his car back, he'll find it in the impound lot. I don't take kindly to people just leaving their cars on the highway. So thank you and have a good day." The squad car made a U-turn and then peeled off into the distance, but not before a silver spaceship looking like an upside-down saucer zipped across the sky, making a strange noise. In hot pursuit, 2 military attack jets flew across the sky, just above the ground, breaking the sound barrier and causing a huge sonic boom. I made my way up the road and I noticed a country house with an older lady wearing a long dress. She was hanging up the laundry on a clothesline. In the driveway was an old broke-down pickup truck up on jacks, but no wheels. And closer to the road sat a young girl selling lemonade. She had an old dog by her side. I asked her how much for a glass of lemonade. She said, "A quarter." She wouldn't take my moon rock or assorted precious stones I carried in my pocket, but she accepted my watch. I told her that lemonade was very good. "My mother made them with fresh lemons," she said. Her mother walked up with an empty laundry basket and said, "Hello, I see that you like the lemonade," as she smiled a glowing smile. She offered me a folding chair to sit in, which I gladly accepted. I told her, "We are sure having some beautiful weather." She replied, "There are some strange things going on, what with the jet fighters flying overhead and what looks like a flying saucer. And for some strange reason, somebody built a barn across the road, and there looks like a pond that never used to be there is suddenly right there." And she pointed across the fields at a silver shimmering pond. And I knew right away that it was not a pond at all. It was a flying saucer in the valley. We were both quiet for a while. There was no need to talk about her revelations. The new sightings were not unusual for me, but I realized on some level that she must be nearly in shock about the recent developments all around her. The older woman almost seemed to read my mind. I wanted to know her family situation. Was she all alone out here in the country, just her and the little girl? She also took a seat and said, "Yes, I'm a single mother." I raised my eyebrows in surprise that she was opening up to me about her life. "I have 2 daughters, but unfortunately, my older daughter is in jail for not paying her library book fines." I said, "I noticed that your trucks broke down." Then I asked the obvious, "Where's your husband?" "Oh, just the other day he got abducted by an alien spaceship, I think. Or maybe he's at the bar drinking, I'm not sure which." The older woman stood up and walked closer to me, asking as she approached even more closely, "Where are you from?" I told her what I had told her daughter. I'm from outer space. I was created by aliens to better understand the human race and then to give that information to the aliens. "Oh," she said, "do you watch TV? Because that's the way to really learn about the human race. Watch TV. Everybody watches TV." She continued, "Wait just a minute. Let me go get a small TV that we can watch outdoors." She ran into the house and was soon bringing out a small black and white TV. On the TV was a Western, and it showed some cowboys on horses tearing the wall out of a jail so they could rescue their gang member. Oh, the TV did make me think of a solution to at least one problem, I told her. When I met your daughter at the library, that was when she was arrested by the police officer. Maybe we should try to break her out of jail. Act 3. I thanked the lady for bringing her TV outside and hooking it up. Neither one of us was quite ready to discuss just how exactly to get her daughter out of jail. Then the TV started buzzing and turned into a screen full of static. She said, "It's very important that you get the antenna just right. You must be sure you get the coat hanger formed into the right shape and aim it in the right direction in order to get the 2 channels that we get out here in the country." She further described, "We get basically 2 channels. One channel we get is mostly fuzzy and some kind of crazy noise sounding like aliens talking really excited over the airwaves. On the other channel we get Western shows. There you can learn from the TV all about how the West was won and about laws and villains and everything about how the earth is." We were just getting comfortable when a flying saucer flew over the house and started hovering, making a grinding noise, and some beeps and lights were flashing. The flying saucer was almost sitting on top of the roof when 3 little men crawled out of the flying saucer and climbed down the ladder. They walked up to the lemonade stand and wanted to know if they could get 3 glasses of lemonade. The little girl poured them each a glass of lemonade and said, "That will be 75 cents. The one that looked like he was in charge asked the little girl if she would take 3 space coins or some pretty diamonds he had or a few rubles. The little girl noticed he had a watch on. She took the watch and said, "Thank you." The mother asked the aliens where they were from. They said, "We're Greys from Zeta Reticuli." The mother ran into the house. She said, "Come." She came back out with 3 more chairs. "Please sit down. Relax under the apple tree here. We've got some shade." The mother, the little girl, an old dog, myself, and 3 aliens all sat underneath the apple tree. The 3 aliens looked at me and said, "We have a new mission for you. You can forget about finding out about human beings on the planet Earth and other living creatures. Right now we have something that's really urgent. Right now evil masterminds are building a doomsday bomb in the center of the Earth. We need to rescue the people they are holding hostage and keep them from blowing up their Earth." The 3 gray aliens began conversing with each other very rapidly, talking in an alien language very quickly. Each one went back up the ladder and the flying saucer took off. Quietly, a squad car pulled into the driveway and then it stopped. The police officer who was at the library earlier got out, walked over, and asked if he could buy a glass of lemonade. He said, "I suppose you wonder what I'm doing here. Well, I had no more got back to the office and I thought, you know what? I'm kind of suspicious of what's going on around here. Matter of fact, the guy with the tinfoil hat. I'm very suspicious of him. So I came back to get you and bring you back to the station and book you on suspicion." Then the officer continued by saying, "Isn't this a beautiful day?" He asked the older lady, "Have you noticed anything strange going on around here?" "No," said the lady, "everything is fine. We've had quite a bit of guests coming to visit, and the lemonade stand seems to be doing really good. Would you be interested in buying a watch?" "Well, thank you for the offer, but I probably need to be getting back." "Sir, I'm going to have to handcuff you. I'm sorry. It's just procedure, really, and put you in the back of this squad car." I said, "No problem, Mr. Officer. No problem at all." With handcuffs now placed on my wrists, he shoved me into the back of the squad car. "Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, little girl. I really appreciate the lemonade." They waved goodbye as we drove off. Once we got down the road, the officer hit the pedal and gunned the gas. We started taking off down the highway at high speed. The officer said, "I've got a lot of people from the federal government that want to talk to you. I understand that you know something about UFOs and aliens." "Yes, sir. I do know a bit about aliens since I was created by aliens. I'm sure I can be of some help to you." Act 4. The police officer drove to the back door of the police station and opened the door. He guided me into a back office. Then he removed the handcuffs and said, "It'll be just a minute. Make yourself comfortable." Through another door in walked 3 officers, each flashing their badge. "We're from the FBI," one officer said. They told me to have a seat, and they all took seats on the opposite side of the table. First question, "Where are you from?" I answered, "I come from outer space." The three officers chuckled. We've heard that one before. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. They said, when we have people missing and we believe that they have been abducted, we will leave no stone unturned till we find out where they are. Do you know anything about where these people might be? I answered, I have a suspicion that aliens from outer space may have abducted them. Then I continued, just this morning, a man was giving me a ride in his car and he was looking for his wife, who he said had been abducted. It was just after he asked me about this when a spaceship flew over the car and he got sucked out of the car, which was left right on the highway. His name, I was told, was Billy Bob. Yes, sir, the FBI said. We're well aware of that incident. We've been told that by the sheriff. We want to know, how well do you or did you know Billy Bob? I didn't really know Billy Bob too well. He just picked me up in front of the library today. He said that he was looking for his wife, and he said that if I didn't give him information, that he and I were going to go at it, and it was right after that he got sucked out of the car by a spaceship. Second question, how well do you know these aliens, these so-called aliens? I answered, quite well, actually. I do believe that they created me, and that therefore, that's why I believe I'm from outer space. They created me using a very large bread-making machine. It's quite simple, really. They just set the timer, add the ingredients, and of course they have DNA samples from all the people they've abducted. And then presto changeo, I'm created, and here I am. My first task for here on Earth was to investigate and learn about humans to report back to the aliens, and the second thing I was supposed to do was to assess the situation down here on Earth and see if there's anything worth salvaging. As for the aliens, they would like to harvest the humans and see what they could do as far as mining. But now, all that's changed. Today they told me my new mission is to save the Earth from a doomsday bomb that some evil geniuses have planted someplace on Earth. The biggest of the three FBI agents stood up and said, okay, that's it. I've had just about enough of this, mister. Where are these people? What have you done with them? I replied, I didn't do anything with them. The aliens took them. They'll probably be experimented on and then hooked up to the machine. Aliens quite often like to hook me up to the machine to see what information I give them. I get to have a game. It's quite relaxing, really. I usually go into a deep sleep. The smallest FBI agent said, do you believe that you could take us to where the aliens are holding these people captive? Oh, yeah, I know I could take you there. It is a small hole in the ground. It goes down kind of deep. The medium-sized police officer said, so let's get the vehicle ready. Let's take him out. We'll go find this place. Act 5. Suddenly everything changed at the police station. The phones were ringing off the hook. Every phone started ringing. Police officers were running every which way, trying to grab the ringing phones to answer them. Everyone was yelling. It was complete chaos. A police officer walked with urgency into the interrogation room. Sir, we have an emergency. We just had a crash. What was it? An airliner? A fighter jet? No, it was a UFO spaceship that crashed into the countryside field. There are bodies lying everywhere. You need to direct emergency rescue services to the scene, and we need to all get out there ASAP. The police officer who I recognized from earlier at the library arrived next. I said, Sir, I need to talk to you about the young girl who you have locked up. I want to pay for her late library books. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my moon rock. I said, This is my beloved moon rock. He answered, No, that will not do. We don't take the moon rocks. Well, how about these other gems I have? He saw one was a diamond, and he nearly fainted. The diamond will do. Come in with me. We have to go investigate this situation at the crash. You might go along and help identify the bodies. You seem to know these aliens quite well. When we got there, it looked like there was toilet paper in the trees. It wasn't toilet paper. It was like foil or some sort of tensile metal everywhere. Part of the spaceship was still intact and glowed and shimmered with lights that seemed to flash all colors of the rainbow. There were alien bodies and human bodies all around, more than I could count. Although the bodies were in pretty good condition, the people who were still alive looked dazed and confused. Police officers were everywhere trying to help anyone they could. It was a miracle that anybody could have survived this. The police officer asked me, Do you know any of these aliens or people? I recognized Billy Bob right away. Yeah, there's Billy Bob. Thank God he's okay. And there's my extended alien family. Thank God they're okay as well. Soon the place was surrounded by military police and helicopters. People on megaphones were screaming, Nobody leaves this area. Everybody stay where you are. Don't touch anything. Emergency personnel were trying to put people on stretchers and carry them to the rescue vans. It was just total mayhem. The fire department was trying to put the fire out. I told the large FBI agent, "Well, we've accomplished our first task. I showed you where they are. They're right here." Act 6. The 3 FBI agents quickly came up to me, and the short one said, "We're going to release you to this lady over here. She claims you were helping her with trying to locate her husband. She also says you bailed her daughter out of jail, so she's being charged with your supervision to make sure you don't leave the area. We will be back in contact soon." The lady and her daughter, who had sold him the lemonade, were standing there motioning for him to come. She said, "Sir, I appreciate what you did to get my daughter out of jail. We owe you so much. You were so kind to do that. We have some woods in our backyard and a small cabin. You can stay there." I told her, "Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it." The end.